Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Xa Talk Show. Today, right now, is July 6th, 2019. It's midnight here, 2 minutes after midnight. So, today we're gonna do sundry things. Let's see. So, we're gonna talk about. I'm going to go over what's happening in the past few days. What's interesting things. So yeah, so let's see. Let's random programming, Unicode keyboard stuff, and what's new. Um, okay, let's begin. Let's so let's go to my website, and in the keyboard department, so I discovered this new 3D figuring. It's in USA. So this is figure action figure. In USA it's called typically. The toy is action figure, but in Japan, this thing figuring. They are extremely exquisite. Delicate and very expensive. Some of these cost $100 or $200 or more, and Japanese, they love these things. They are uh, extremely well made. So I discovered this one. Let me show you some of these. In Japan, I'm not sure how they call it, but sometimes in English it's called PVC figures. So let me show you some of them. Okay, art blog. Let's go to my art blog. So we're gonna talk about PVC figures and this Krita. This girl, this she's a mascot. Is she a squirrel or something? She's a mascot for this painting software. You use it with the pen, with a digital pen to draw and art stuff. So she is, so this software has a mascot, Krita. That's her name. And this mascot is created by a Chinese guy. Do I say it here somewhere? But anyway, yeah, she's created this mascot is by a Chinese artist. So anyway, and I found this very beautiful, pretty. So let me show you about talk about action figures and what let me show you some of them. So if you are here, say hi. Any comments, questions, post it. Okay. Uh, so let's see. Yeah, action figures. The Japanese action figures. They are incredible, fantastic. They have mecha. They have extremely uh, delicate. So here we have Cortana. Here we have Cortana. This is American, version figurine. This one is well done, but you rarely see it. You almost never see it. Cortana, she is hot, and Cortana is interesting. There are quite a few things interesting about this. This relates to artificial intelligence, the gaming community, computer graphics, and also the design of decorations on clothing, on women's clothing. You see, so we're gonna talk about that, but so many topics. Let me finish one by one. Okay, so this girl is her name is then we have this. Her name is Cortana, and she came from the video game Halo. She is a some kind of artificial intelligence hologram, something like that. From the then she became the assistant, the voice assistant of Microsoft operating system Cortana. Like Apple's Siri and Okay, Google. So let me show you. Yeah, let me show you some of the. First of all, let's talk about figurines. Okay, let me talk about Cortana. Okay, so yeah. So what's interesting? There's one thing interesting about this figure, this girl. Now look, you see, notice the patterns on her body. It's all sci-fi. Sci-fi, and it's well done. It's beautiful. But notice the patterns. I was wondering, how does the pattern forms? I mean, is it random? Like, how do you, like, when you, for example, if you are the artist, you want to design the patterns on her body. What do what kind of what do you do? So that's one question. But the question I'm wondering is how does the pattern on her body forms? Like, is there a way or algorithm? What makes them this way? I mean, why not, for example, black over here, or some other pattern? So after after a little thought, it's easy to understand. The pattern on her body basically reflects clothing, like lingerie, like women's sexy lingerie. So basically the pattern forms, it's like a bikini, like a swimsuit, covering the sexual parts. Then over here it's like a garter belt. So the pattern reflects, actually reflects kind of the clothing of women. And that, and also look here, they started to have some pattern here. So it's like, the long sleeve gloves, sometimes women wear. uh, so this choice of pattern, that's interesting. Also look at the hand, here, look at, let's magnify. Okay, you see the pattern on the hand here is like some kind of triangle. So it's similar to, sometimes you have these gloves women wear where uh, you have to keep the sleeves pulled up or something like that. So you have a string, attached to the middle finger. So that kind of like looks like that. So in any way, so the pattern reflects women's clothing. And this particular choice is interesting because I think so, because it provides a familiarity. You know, if you have other kind of patterns that might be as attractive as well and interesting as well, but in any case, if you design the pattern according to clothing, you have the advantage of familiarity, which familiarity is one of the important element for attraction. Like when you see something, what makes it attractive? What makes it not attractive? So one of the criteria, one of the important reason is familiarity. So if you are in Western culture or Chinese culture or Japanese culture, if you see things, you see every day, you tend to find it more attractive than things you've never seen before. So yeah, so like, so that's why we say usually foreign things or alien things we don't find attractive. In general, we like, human likes things that are familiar. So this choice, uh, creating the pattern based on clothing is, has this familiarity advantage. So that's interesting thing. Then okay, Americans, they have this stupid doll, yes, stupid doll. This ugly. You can still buy this on Amazon, I think. I'm not sure where do you buy this though. This one. So any of you gamers out there, like, where do you buy this? It's probably not available anymore. But anyway, So that's Cortana, and let me show you some of the other figurines. Okay, in general, it's called figurines, but sometimes it's called action figures in USA, and sometimes it's called PVC figures. So let me show you some of the extremely beautiful Japanese PVC figures. For example, this one. This one, in Japan they have like hundreds of them. Not hundred, it's like hundred thousands of them. Each one costs like $100 $200 USD. And in fact, today you can buy a lot of them on Amazon. They are imported from Japan. And I want to find. Let me find you some of the. Okay, so I have a collection here. Usually these are sexy. Okay, this is the one I want to find. These are extremely sexy. Okay. Uh, so here is another some of the action figures of American superheroes. They are made in Japan. So you have Batman, you have Wonder Woman, uh, Iron Man, and Captain America. So these are well made. So there's this thing I want to say. American, U.S. culture, you don't have these things. Like they thrive in Japan, but in America, you go to toy store or even adult, gamer store, game shops. They are action figures like idiotic. They are for kids. Like $5 each. So but Japan, they appreciate these kind of things, so they companies and technology, they create these things. It's like a very extreme sculpture. So if you like them, you can check them out on my website. This is let me show you the URL. So basically, just go to xararts.org. Just search for my name, Xar action figure, and you'll find them. And buy them from my website. I would like that. Thank you. So you have these action figures from Japan, and let me show you the others. Okay, and okay, the Star Wars is fantastic. This is Darth Maul. There's another interesting thing about the naming of these characters. Now that relates to linguistics. The naming of the characters. For example, this character Darth Vader, and this character Darth Maul. You see their names. They connote to rather negative or dark colors. Like more. What do you think of a more? More is like tearing things apart, I guess. More. Let's look up. Yeah, not Wikipedia. Let's go to dictionary. So more, a heavy, long-handed hammer used especially to drive stakes, piles, or wedges. Okay, heavy hammer to injure or mutilate, as by scratching or beating. So you see, their names came. When you choose a name for a character, there's details went into the all these kind of fiction or let's go back to Darth Maul. So this guy is Darth Maul, and Vader. Vader. What does it remind you? Invader. Invasion. Vader. Something like that. And Darth. It reminds you of darkness. So there's interesting naming of things involved. So anyway, so these are Japanese action figures. Sometimes it's called PVC figures. PVC is a part. It turns out it's a particular plastic name. The technology used to create this material for these figurines. So we have Snow White, another American character. You know, so in Japan they make these characters. They have a figurine for basically every comics, every anime. Japanese anime. There are thousands of them. Or they also make, for example, American superheroes or American fairy tales, or characters, gaming characters or whatever. So here we have Snow White, and is she's voluptuous, uh, and nerds, young people, love it. Of course, it's female, girls. Uh, so that's Raven. Now, what does is that a raven or just a bird? What does a raven has to do with Snow White? Does anyone know? Is there a raven in Snow White? Anyway, so that's the Chinese for Snow White, 白雪公主. So anyway, Snow White. So you have Snow White. So if anyone knows what's a raven doing here, let me know. Type in the comments, okay? Or if you see this offline, type in a YouTube comment. And okay, so I was saying in Japan they have tens of hundreds of thousands of these figurines. Okay, and there are people collects them. There is this guy who collects literally few thousands of them. I don't know if it's tens of thousands. And he is rich. Like each one of these, especially this set. Okay, each one of these cost like 100 or 200 US dollars. So this guy has I think at least few thousands of them. I think it's more than few thousand. So they cost he spent millions of dollars on these things. A few million dollars. So anyway, here's a photo of his collection, and these are the characters of the Japanese anime called One Piece. In English, it's called One Piece. In Chinese, it's called 海贼王. 海贼王 literally means the king of pirates. Now, this One Piece anime, story, these comics, you can find it on Wikipedia, for example. Just search for One Piece, and there's also a dedicated wiki. This is incredible comics. It turns out this is the most of all anime in Japan. From history to today, One Piece is the most popular, the most in terms of number of books sold or things like that. It's the most successful. So of all the different types of Japanese anime, this One Piece is most successful. And I've checked out some of the comics. It's really good. The Japanese comics. One characteristics about their story different from American is that their stories are very diverse. They touch upon all facets of humanity. Okay, different. You have different characters. You have good people, bad people. I mean, not just good, bad, but different personalities and a humor aspect, sexy aspect, so it's encompassing. The Japanese comic stories are encompassing in that way. They touch on all aspects of humanity, and their story is very creative, including also including some of their science fiction comics, as opposed to American. Now, American comics is like extremely boring, like superheroes, all these superheroes, the Marvel universe, the X-Men, the Superman, Batman. They are essentially boils down to one thing: good versus evil. They simplify humanity. They simplify like there's nothing else except good. You are good. I'm evil. Okay, good versus evil. Batman. So Batman is a bit complex. It's because he's a psychotic. Batman. And they all have mental problems, psychological problems. Batman. Anyway, Superman, Wolverine, all these American comics, Spider-Man, they are all basically idiotic, extreme idiotic, and of course they try to breed in some of the practical everyday life situations, like they have, yeah, like typically they will involve boyfriends, or girlfriends, you know like love interest. Good morning, Andrew Lee. Boyfriend, girlfriend, love interest, who is s- idiotic American comics. Okay. But anyway, so this One Piece Japanese comics is encompassing and fantastic. Now, this group of people are the, you might call bad guys. But it's more complicated than that. Each one have, they have different personality. Now, of course, they are dramatic. They are not real life. But that's the point of stories. Stories is the drama version of real life. But sometimes real stories are very sometimes more stranger than fiction. So anyway, so these are kind of the bad guys, okay, but they have all different characters, personalities. Now, so this is a drawing from the comics, but you can see, for example, this girl is her name is Pirate Empress Boa. Pirate Empress Boa Hancock. Bo- Boa Hancock. Okay, and so in the figurine, so this guy has two version of him. So that her. My image is not too big. Whoops. Um, so anyway, and you can see now this guy, a bad guy. This is called Don Quixote, Darth Flamingo. How do you pronounce Don Quixote? That's a Spanish, from that Spanish famous classic, I suppose. So this guy Flamingo, yeah, let's just call him Flamingos, and he's flamboyant. Okay. Now there's an interesting thing about the etymology of the word flamboyant. That's interesting. Another linguistic aspect. So let's etymology of flamboyant. Okay, I have written a blog about that. Uh, okay, so I guess it's linked here. Yeah, the etymology of flamingo and flamboyant. Now, it turns out they are related. So this character is flamingo, and you can see, he is a very flamboyant character, and you can see his face expressions and all that, and also it's a flamingo. So, well, I'm not going to read it, but anyway, so they are like related. I mean, the etymology of these two words are, have kind of the same origin. So let's see, flamingo, long-legged. So etymology of flamingo: long-legged, long-necked, long-legged, no, long-necked, brightly colored pink bird of the tropical Americas. From Portuguese flamingo, Spanish flamengo, literally flame colored. Okay, that is the key, flame colored. Compare Greek something something flamingo, literally red feathered. Okay, so anyway, that's flamingo, and let's see flamboyant. Flamboyant, 1832, originally in reference to a 15th century to 16th century architectural style with wavy flame-like curves. From French flamboyant, flaming, wavy. Okay, so yeah, so they, basically they all came from the word flame, fire. So that's interesting. Flamingo and flamboyant. Okay, so let's go back to these. So anyway, so this is one piece. You might check it out. Japanese comics, and this group of people are the good guys. Good guys. If you look at all the stories, movies or fictions, it is the bad guys that shines. They are most colorful. These are the bad guys. Each one of them is greatly, it's attractive. But the good guys, they are, they don't look exotic. They don't look extraordinary usually. So anyway, yeah. So this guy collected, thousands of these anime characters, and look at these chick. They they are so hot and sexy. These women's clothing, women women's clothing. They are a huge part of humanity. Throughout history, their clothing is extremely elaborate. For example, this clothing is, it shows the cleavage, but then you have this variation. It shows, the bottom of the tits. uh yeah. And not just, this happens, these things, so why is women has so many varieties of clothing design and all that? It's because, and women, it's women, they do it, they almost like need it, require it, what, because if women stops buying, wearing this lingerie, you have, for example, in modern society, you have Victoria's Secret, a huge success. If women stops, liking these things, then the whole thing will stop. Women just put on T-shirts. That'll be it. But that's not, of course, that's not what happens. And so this is not just modern society. It turns out, it seems it's with us, for thousands of years. Women, they have to do these kind of things. And why? Because it's sexual attraction. That's what makes, that what, makes us propagate. We have to reproduce. How do you reproduce? You have sex. How do you have sex? You have, men and women. But you don't just, oh, it's time to have sex, then you have sex. There's complex things involved. Women has to signify, like in many animals, they have like a mating season, or estrus, a period of time when a female egg is mature. Then you have sex at that time, then you'll have babies. Okay, otherwise not. But in human animals, there's no a set, like a mating season. But instead you have, women have periods, and that changes their mood. And they so women, the female has to signify when they are ready to have sex. It's a biological mechanism. And how do they signify? Well, clothing is, dressing hot, is one of the reason. Anyway, that's getting complicated. So anyway, so you have these, yeah, Japanese anime and stories. By the way, so you have this mermaid character. This mermaid, okay, this, so this One Piece story is very complicated. And, and you also have this girl character. She's dressed like, what Japanese might call it Lolita fashion. It's called Lolita fashion. It's kind of a, a mix of gothic fashion, and Victorian kind of thing. So their comics. So you have these. She's one of the characters as well, and then you have this mermaid character. Now the mermaid character came from, of course, they came from Northern Europe, I think. So anyway, but she is huge, So you see, so they change, So what I'm saying is that the story is not predictable. The stories and the characters in these Japanese comics is not like it's very it's very attractive. That what makes it interesting. Part of it is that it's not predictable. So you have this mermaid character, and in this story, this mermaid character is like 50 times larger than a normal person. She is holding this guy. This guy is actually the main character. Let me show you. So that guy is the main character. This guy, he's a hero. Okay, kind of. So he's the main character of the whole story, One Piece. And so this mermaid, is holding him. So you can see how small he is. And then you have these ghost characters. Anyway, so it's very interesting anime. Okay, so that's the PVC figure. That's the okay action figure. So let me. Okay, so there are some other. Good morning, Much Dedan. So other PVC. So any questions, comments, just type it, okay? Because today we just talk random, okay? Random things. It turns out, oh God, it like every time I start to talk, I spend a lot of time, because there's so many things to talk about, and every time when I talk about things, there's so many branches of. Hey, good morning, Danielle. So anything new, any comments, opinions, or any other subjects you want me to talk about, just post it, okay? Because thank you. Truthful, you are great. I like your content and well, thank you. So here's another PVC character. So her name is Kariko Hattori, something like that. Um, it's very sexy. So yeah, so PVC figures. Oh, by the way, okay, you see all these comics or movies or American comics or Japanese anime, or in games, you often have female warriors. You see, she's very hot and she's a warrior. She's using some samurai a sword. Uh, so and but all these are fiction. These are fantasies. These are fantasies that theses men mostly, well, female as well. The reason you have all these female warriors is it's like pure fiction. It doesn't happen. It just never ever happened, even a little bit, even like once in a while, maybe in 100 years, you have one in a billion, one in 10 million women who are you know different. She's special. She you know it's like odd. So maybe one in a million. Yeah, you have that female warriors, but all these comics and games, they are just pure fantasy. And in America, you have these idiots, social justice scam, idiots. They say, oh, this. Okay, let's not get into that. Like this, like they want to say, oh, so but why does what female armor should be like? Oh, then this or that. Anyway, so here's another PVC figure, and this is from Fleet Girls collection. Fleet Girls collection is a huge popular game, online game in Japan. Japan is in many ways in American eyes it's very weird and odd because this game is actually what it's about. This game is about let me show you, maybe you'll see some. Okay, here Fleet Girls collection. So this game, the theme of this, you see all these girls with military warships, battleships. This game is based on World War II, Japanese World War II Navy fleet. So for every ship, Japanese warship, there's a girl that represents the ship. And basically it's a game. It's kind of based on World War II history. And it's extremely popular. So you see, it's even painted on airplanes. In English, it's can collect. Fleet Girls collection. Anyway, very popular. So anyway, so you can buy figurines. You can buy it's lots of and um, so these figures came from that game. Yeah, so that's some of the examples of the action figures and PVC or PVC figures. Um, so anyway, so let me read some comments. Danielle says, I was at the music center's Dorothy Chandler Pavilion tonight. I mean in L.A. Oh, Music Center Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. I saw the Royal Ballet. Shit, I can't pronounce anymore. Um, Kenneth Macmillan's mailing opening night, but that doesn't sound interesting. Okay. When was the earthquake? 3 hours ago, like 4 hours ago, during intermission. Uh, Most interesting part of this, my seat equals row. How expensive? Oh, yeah, there's an earthquake like 4 hours ago. Anyways, I was asleep. I think. So I don't know. I woke up like 4 hours ago. Yeah. So as I said before a few times, I my sleeping schedule changes all the time. Like it shifts all over the clock. So right now, for the past week, the schedule is I sleep at noon, I wake up around 8 p.m., something like that. So anyway, so there are PVC figures about so we talked about. Let me summarize because summarization is important. Actually, well, because every time I do a video, I have to, like, I talk about random things. So, but when people go to see my YouTube, they don't know what's topic, but because each one is, you have a bag of random things. So it's usually nice if I put a table of contents. Like this video will talk about these things, but that's painstaking. Like I have to watch my own videos. you know each video is like an hour long, and I have to watch it, and I have to try to get a timestamp and stuff. So it would be nice, like every time I talk about something, people start to type. uh, so action figures, and we talk about American and comics Japanese comics. You see the colorfulness of Japanese comics and the bore of American comics. Okay. And Darth Maul, Darth Vader, the linguistics, the naming of things. okay, and action figures, PVC figures, okay, the naming and all that, and we talked about One Piece, Pirate King, okay, then we have anyway, so that's PVC figures. That is that. So actually, I wanted to talk about quite a lot of things, but it turns out just on that thing, it's already 40 minutes. Like we can call it a day. Yeah, I haven't begun. Oh, it began. It all began um, with this krita. This figure I discovered. This krita. This is a painting, the mascot for this painting software. Um, yeah, so I was going to. Okay, so I'm typing this out, so that later on I can, maybe, later on I need to put in a description. Etymology. Oh yeah, don't forget the etymology of flamingo versus and flamboyant. They all came from the word flame, flame like. Uh, yeah. Okay. So seven people watching. Okay. So let's talk about. Okay. So yeah. So I have this. I bought this like half a year ago, and it works. Because why I bought this, because so I got a you know let's see, like Saudi keyboards, miscellaneous. I traded my laptop with my roommate's Microsoft Surface Pro. You can see here, and the Surface Pro suits me because I sit all day. So with the Surface Book, I can just walk around when I'm reading something. When I need to read some programming documentation or something, I take the book and walk around. So it's very useful. And it turns out I learned about this digital pen. My first time using a digital pen, and it's incredible. It's fantastic because now you can actually write down notes. I have a video here. If you go to my website, you will see the video. It's not showing here because JavaScript is off in Firefox. So the pen is incredible. It's like a new chapter of computing. It's so extremely convenient. Every time you just do a screenshot and you can write notes on it. And I do that often. And you can also use the pen to navigate. For example, if you want to scroll the window down, you just like do like that. You know. So I discovered the pen computing via the Microsoft Surface Pro. So I was thinking, I want to get one for my Mac too. So I looked around and eventually I got this one cheap. Uh, the one I got is like $40 something. Check it out. But it turns out on the Mac, it sucks. It sucks donkey ass because on the Mac, you see what happens is that you see, I have this pen right now. It's working. I can move my pen around, but I cannot scroll. On the Surface Book, all I have to do is like I just click here. I just click here and I just move my pen up and it'll scroll, but it won't. Instead, it does selection instead. So that means you cannot scroll with it. So that goes away. With the using it as a mouse. So unless you install, I suppose it exists somewhere. I haven't looked. Unless you go install some software for, that is designed to make the pen into a generic mouse. But on the Microsoft Surface Book, you can just use your pen to navigate and select and everything. Instead of the mouse. But on the Mac, you basically no, you cannot. So basically, So that's a disappointment. So why does the Mac do not provide this, by default? Because obviously, because you see, Apple makes their own touchpad, and also Apple makes their own pencil, Apple digital pen. So they don't want you to buy, some random, drawing digital pens, and you can use it instead of buying Apple's tablet, the touch tablet. So that's why Apple, so all these corporations, Apple, and including software, Google, Twitter, Facebook, every aspect of their decision. I mean, trust me when I say this, because I've been in computing for 30 years now, since 1991. Every day I read all the news about, what's the latest item, what features, what operating system just came out, what upgrade. I was a nerd. I read about, and also, all the version, since 1991, when I have a you know on when I have my first Mac 2 Si. So I was a Mac fanatic, you might call, for most for throughout 1990s. So anyway, so I've been observing. So, but especially in the past 10 years, every corporation, every one of their decisions, how the pen is made, including Microsoft's pen. Microsoft's pen, it's heavy. When I first used this, it's fantastic. It's great. But after I had this, and thinking about things, looking around, study the technology of the digital pen, comparatively, it's no good. But I know why it is that way. The Microsoft digital pen, it is that way because that way makes the most money for them. It's true. This pen is heavy and it's got two batteries, unnecessarily so. Why? Because they could have trivially. Oh, huh? Oh, oh. They could have trivially. That's my roommate. It's like after midnight and I'm too loud. So they could have trivially. They could have trivially made the pen. You know, like you can buy any digital pen and it'll work. But of course that's not. So they decided to. They want you to buy their own. Specialized pen. And there's no good reason, actually. You might think, okay, maybe there's a technical reason they have to have this pen like that. Not really. um so anyway, so that's about Apple Pen. But anyway, so my roommate is complaining I was too loud. So I think that should be it today. I have actually, I wanted there are several topics I want to go over, but it's kind of late here, so that should be it today. Yeah, 50 minutes. So let me read the comments. So, after okay, let's not talk about that. uh, okay, so yeah, I know a lot of people following me because of the, well, it's said I'm based. This and it seems my name is being started to, it's like it's mentioned on one of these, there are several of them, Chan websites. Yeah, that is true. uh, anyway, that's it for today. So thank you guys for watching. uh, of course, if you like of stuff I talked about, buy from my website, and I have donation buttons and so on, and stuff. Any more questions? Any questions? You have 10 seconds and we'll say goodbye. And we'll say goodnight. Yeah, there's quite a lot of topics I want to talk about, but we haven't got into. Yeah, there's something new about keyboard. Yeah, this I want to talk about, and there's some programming issues. There's a Egyptian hieroglyph. They have these women birth and breastfeeding. Egyptian glyphs, and there's also web dev. Yeah, this frame set I want to talk about because there's it's about user interface. It's about the history. It's about the history of the standard. It is quite a lot aspects to go into. And anyway, yeah. So bye, Danielle. Thank you guys for watching. Good night.